What you looking at? Why don't you fix that ear? Huh? Well, look here. Beautiful day today. Need to do some work over there, huh? Hey, baby girl. See that sprinkler behind her? She busted off. Bad girl. Bad. But last night, we had a storm. That's my brass catcher again. Blown down the hill. Well, I'm going to get rid of the white pipe. And I'm going to build it out of 2x4s. Make it heavier. I have been putting these... Oh, don't jump on me, Gilly. I have been putting these lead weights on the runners there, but the wind gets pretty strong up here on the mountain. Blows in 60-mile-an-hour gusts when we get a good storm like the last couple days. All right, well, back to the shop. Lots of work to do.
Some of you may have seen the horrific video, were basically raped and beheaded by ISIS supporters. Now, if these were one-off isolated cases, it wouldn't be a story. They're not one-off isolated cases. We have the other case of the left-wing couple who cycled through the Middle East, through the Balkans. They, again, preached love. They preached that evil does not exist in the world, and the conception that other cultures are more dangerous, more bigoted, less tolerant than our own, that was just a product of our own bigotry, our own Western imperialism that we expect these countries to be dangerous. They're not really dangerous. Everybody's friendly. Everybody just wants to spread love. Absolute BS.
Okay, fresh out of the oven. Of course, they're cool now. Parchment paper. I can use that like 4 or 5 times. Always one of them got to fall on the ground. Okay, so now ready for the sizer. Okay, you guys know what this is. Always one of them got to drop on the ground. There we go. Now that's ready. We're just rambling around today, having fun. Just some of you guys have been asking about my round bench setup, how that works out for me. Figure I'll take a minute and I'll show you what I got going on here. Right up front here is where I do my sizing. Right below that is an old industrial first aid box. I keep all my die sets and things like that in. Keep my little, you know what that's for. Keep that little booger down there handy, because right over here I got this little paint can lid that says takedowns. That's all about when I'm making some ammo, I end up with stuff that I don't like, don't fit the cartridge checker or something like that, you know. So I put them in there. Right here's the lock and load progressive, and you notice I got a foreign powder dispenser on it. I just mounted that this morning on there. I think I'm going to get along with this real fine. I'll know a little bit later. Right now, we got some stuff cooking over there. It's going to end up in this pile right here. After I go over here, do a little bit of primer tube loading, and then come over here to where this is the old granny machine right here. But on the back side, that's where I prime my brass. And then right here is my little turret. And I use that for making up pistol loads. All the time experimenting with different projectiles and stuff. I keep all of them right here. Powder on top. All different projectiles. Down through here, gas checks and what have you. And then I ain't used them in so long, but way in the back here, there's stacks of regular. Hell, you can't even see them from here. All down through the back, I got stacks of regular jacketed ammo, but hell, I never use that. This side here is where I do my brass preparation. That little Lee press used to be where I would do all the decapping, but lately I've been doing it on the progressive because it's so much faster. And then under the table here, got all the junk plugged in. I keep a little toolbox over there for tools I need. And then there's 50 pounds of lead under that. Helps hold the backside of that table nice and solid. Then let's see, over here got some timers set up so I can either run this vibratory cleaner or I can run this thing here with the stainless steel pins. And then this is where I just stage brass and for whatever needs cleaning until I get enough of it to run. The 45 there is going to go in this thing when I get a full load. And then I keep my extra turrets over here, powder throws up there. And of course, we've got the shop motto, you're gonna act like a turd, go lay in the yard. And then up here, this is one cupboard here, load manuals, more books and stuff here, more load manuals. And I keep my brass that I use all the time up here, and then down in these drawers here I keep more brass. I sort everything by head stamp. And this is the 38 357 drawer. That top drawer was 45 Schofield, 45 ACP, and then here's 9mm in this drawer, and 380 auto. And then you can see those two boxes, 45 auto brass that hadn't been processed yet. And then this is where all the junk ends up that I'm kind of sort of working on, sort of not working on. So this is where the mess collects right here. Then of course, gotta have a good stereo. And the oven over there. And oh yeah, there's rock chucker on this side for rifle work. And coming around over here, that's where I do my casting. Things are kind of crowded in here because I do woodworking too. You can see back in the back I got a bunch of woodworking crap back there and over there. Semper Fi Marines. And then out here, that used to be a table saw. It still is, just can't use the damn thing because I always got powder coating or something else going on over there. and Bubby's guarding the door. So that's about it. Got a fresh batch of cookies in here. They just went off, so those look cool. We can pull them out of there. Right now I'm watching the news this morning. Keep myself busy. This side here is kind of a corner that I do the loading the primer tubes or cleaning the weapons or something like that. If I'm going to clean a rifle, I go to the table saw and muck it up. Here's a little deal that's handy. It's some kind of deal they made for putting something in a barbecue. I think it's stuffed peppers or something like that. But it works out real good for holding dies. So when I pull all these dies off, I just set them in the holes down here, and then I can take that one right there, that universal D-prime, put it around here in this hole, take all this other out, then I can just D-prime the heck out of a whole load of cases in a hurry. That's nice. And then my scales sit on a shelf up here. See if you can tell, they're hooked to a pipe that runs up here. On top of this pipe, I got one of those magnetic deals you put on the bench, but it holds all kinds of stuff that seems to always get away from me. So it's a good place for that. But this shelf here, I can turn this to face towards any of the presses I'm working on, whether it's the chucker or over here on the turret press. And the neat part about this is that it goes down through a hole here in the center of the bench. Here's the back view of it, where I adjust it with that knob, and that orange collar that holds that shelf. But it goes through the bench and down there to a brake drum so that it doesn't touch the bench, and vibration that I make on the bench doesn't make the scales that crazy. And then just the other day, I'm always fussing. You'll notice I got the digital and the beam scale lined up side by side, and I've always made them verify each other as to whether this doggone digital scale is warmed up enough to read right. But the other day I got this neat little setup here. It's a check weight set I got from RCBS. Here's a 10 grain check weight. All right, so this is warmed up enough, and if it read 10.1 or 9.9, then I'd use these two weights here, and I'd what do they call it? Calibrate it. So then I can come over here too and put this little booger over here and dial this scale here into 10 grains, and then make dang sure that I've got it balanced right, because you know that's adjustable. And so now I feel better about using these newfangled powder throws like this one, because I can tell exactly what's going on. Now something I'll mention is that when you run the first two stations, here I've got a sizer, and then I've got a separate expander. It's a 454 Cowboy expander, so I can put the soft cast in there and they won't swage down with the brass. Then there's an expander under this, but it doesn't do any expanding or belling. All it is a connector so it'll operate that powder throw. But once you get that thing set, then you clear out the bottom of it and then start running your brass. I've noticed that once you size and expand and then come underneath the powder throw, that the vibration in that powder throw will settle the powder in the metering hole, and it'll give you 1 or 2 tenths of overage. So the very first one, as I start a run, I hit the stop button, had to start over again. But I was saying that as soon as I've cranked it 2 times and I've got one underneath that dispenser, that the powder settles in that metering hole, and it'll throw the first charge. I've got it set for 4.9 right now, and that first charge will come at 5.0 or 5.1, and so I always just put it back in the hopper, then put that case back in the lineup to go into the shell plate, and then the very next one that goes under the hopper, it will not have been disturbed by anything other than the first two stations and the regular vibration that goes on. In other words, it won't sit there and take two cranks and settle and settle. It'll stay according to the setting. I don't know how to explain that any better than that. But that's how it works, because as you can see, I'll verify that thing until I'm real happy with it, and then I'll just turn on the stereo, crank up some good old 50s and 60s music, and just go to town. And then that way, you know, every 25 or so, just whenever I get that little voice in me that says, hey, check that powder, I'll reach up there and have a look at it, make sure it's still running correct. But then another thing is, I don't load my loads up near max, especially when running on a progressive. And so if I get one or two or a dozen that slips by at 5.0 or 5.1, I have just reached max at 5.1, so that's not a problem. Other thing is about this casting area is I got those pans that I pull out, and I'll put one right here, and then I'll take this one with this little doodah here that I can drop my cast on, it doesn't damage them. And then sprues go in the left, and then I'll return those back to the top when I'm ready to take a break. And then the new cast here, and I can lift this up and pull them back, and they'll be underneath it, make a big load there, so I won't be hitting each other. And then over here I got the PID, and I keep a little lid there of chopped up paraffin. This stuff right here, right there, Gulf wax, and that does a real clean job of keeping a even coat on top of this lead in here, and it won't oxidize real bad, you know, as I'm casting. That nut right there, that's just a little heavy weight that helps keep this little valve on this pot turned off. It'll still leak some, but I'll just reach down here to I've got another one of those magnetic deals here, grab my screwdriver, and I can come up here, and I can turn this a little bit, and it tends to clean out that little valve. It'll quit messing up. And then that's my mold oven there, and I preheat my molds. That's the last one I was using, so I put it back in there to cool down. And then that's a little barbecue thermometer. They're about $6 or $8, and I just punch a hole in the top of the lid, and then this thing here just drops down in that hole, and I can tell what temperature that thing's running at. That's only a 1,000-watt little hot plate, so I have to keep it turned up all the way just so I can make about 380 degrees. In the summer it'll go on up to 425 or so, but in the coolness of the winter and the spring it'll only go about 385. But that's plenty hot to get good cast first or second throw out of your molds, and that sure is nice. I keep this little 10-pound pot here. See what's in it. It's all cleaned out right now. That's my hollow point lead there, so that's always generally a 40 or 30 to 1, depends on the speed I'm working with. And that's where I do the hollow points. This one here is rifle and pistol. And then this is my homemade whacker. I made it out of a closet pole. I just put it over there on the lathe, turned it down. Yeah, there's a lathe underneath all that crap. Fire extinguisher. Everybody sure needs to have one of those. That's my fan for getting the airflow in here when I'm making smoke over here on this thing. And then here on the end, I still do lubricize, so I got a pair of those. One of them's got a heater under it, and then this one doesn't here. And then I keep my lead and my tin and stuff down here, and I keep boxes of it over here. 60-40 solder. Underneath that's more pure lead like those corn cobs. And over here, that's clip-on wheel weights I get off cast bullets, and a couple boxes full of the powder coating material. So that's pretty much it. That's the whole thing in a nutshell. So, alright, I hope that answers some questions about how I operate in this crowded little garage.